Although he seems to be
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for making us trip down to this beautiful inn and the historic Spring Mill State Park. I would encourage everybody, if you haven't, take a look around and ask questions. This is a feat that took a lot of people and a lot of time and a lot of years to get done. So we're honored that we were hosted here for this meeting. And when we were talking about schedules 10 months ago for this year, this seemed like a logical place and a logical time. So we appreciate that very much. I will call the meeting to order. I'm Chair of the Natural Resources Commission, Brian Pointer. I do recognize a quorum. I believe Tom Kelly is traveling and will be joining us, but we won't wait for him since we do have a quorum. We'll have some announcements here as we get into the meat of the agenda, but for the time being, if there's an approval of the minutes that have been circulated, a review and approval, a motion to accept the minutes as they were submitted. It has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Whoever had to put those minutes together was, I'm sure, working at them very diligently. Appreciate that effort. It's not easy. With that, we'll move immediately to the director's report, and I turn to Director Morrison.
Thank you, Brian. Good afternoon, everybody. Great to see you all. We started the morning here today at about 10 a.m. and met with Sarah, the assistant property manager. Mark was not able to be here. I didn't know that we allowed these property managers to have vacations. Yeah, this is unbelievable. I can't believe this. But my first time at Spring Mill, and what a beautiful park. And we started out at the Gus Grissom Memorial, and to see the history of the world, really, not just it's great. It's shocking to see something so impactful that for the world and for our country came right here from Mitchell, and I think it's great to see, just very historical. Then walking or driving through the park, and we took a couple walks. It's just a beautiful place. The campground is great. It's probably about half full, even though it's a Tuesday in the middle of the summer. Great to see families out there making memories, and went down to the mill and the village, and to see the work that had been done to recreate that wheel, the mill wheel, and it was hot. It was a little stuffy out there today, and that natural air conditioner that comes up off of that stream that comes out of the cave is really something. And so we've had a great day, and then of course this inn, the renovation that it undertook, and it's a beautiful building. We had a nice lunch then at the buffet. Tasha has done a great job here, and Tim, he recommended the ham bean soup, and he was not wrong. So if it moves you to go in there and grab a bowl, you will not be upset. I can promise you that. So just give you a couple updates on what we've been doing, what I've been doing, and then we'll get moving. Just some personnel issues that are important. All the personnel issues are important to the DNR, but the gentleman to my right, Greg Sorrells, was our interim CFO. I removed the interim tag to my left, sorry, and to your right, about a month ago now. And Greg has been with the DNR for a few years, and he is the man for the job, and he's been great for us. His dedication and his work ethic is second to none, and so he's an invaluable member of our team. So it's been great to have him in the office and the executive office there. We started the first of 6 interviews yesterday for our state parks director. It's one of the most forward-facing and very important positions that we have within the agency, and we will wrap up those interviews this week, and then we'll continue on, and hopefully we will have our that full-time position filled sooner rather than later. Hey,
All must say.
Tom, welcome. No problem.
You're right on time.
Yep. I've been, I'm obviously a big believer that you can't manage something if you can't measure it, and also if you don't know what it is and haven't been there and seen it, so I've been very busy traveling throughout the state since our last time together. I've been to Monroe Lake, the Dunes, Shakamak and Redbird, Starve Hollow, Shades, Lieber, Raccoon, Tippecanoe, Jasper, Pulaski, Potato Creek. Have attended the canine graduation, which was at the State House. We had 6 dogs. 4. We had four new dogs sworn in. One of them was KT, a dog donated by Tom Kelly. Thank you very much, sir. And that was a fun event. We had it out there on the lawn of the State House, and all the dogs were there. And luckily, the squirrels, State House squirrels, stayed away. But that was a very neat event. Indiana Golf Association over at Fort Bend. We have we are very fortunate to have them make their new state headquarters at the fort, and that's a great golf facility. If anybody in here is into golf, and it's a Pete Dye design and just a beautiful course, and you'd have no idea that you're sitting in close to downtown Indianapolis when you're out there. Went to the ICO, our conservation officer youth camp that was held up in Tippecanoe County, and that's an event that's been going on for decades now, where 5th and 6th grade boys and girls get a chance to interact with our conservation officers and other volunteers, and they learn everything from obviously hunter safety and tree stand safety, how to handle a firearm, how to shoot a firearm, and that's everything from handguns to muzzle loaders, and bow and arrows, recurves, and crossbows, and water safety, and just it's a great chance for them to learn from the experts and professionals, and put the tablet and the phone down for a week and really enjoy nature and learning what it means to really kind of get outside and enjoy our natural resources. And I know it is maybe a slight pipeline to being a conservation officer. One of our women officers, our female officers, she was one of the kids that went to this youth camp back when she was in 5th or 6th grade. What's her name? Colonel Hunter? Yeah. She was in our boater safety video. So, she caught the bug when she was there, and she took it all the way to now she's a conservation officer. So we are already getting ready for the 2026 legislative session. And I know that for many folks, that's kind of might seem like it's a little early, but it's really not. The long session ends, and next thing you know, it seems we start to get through the summer and you get into the fall, and then it's time for our legislators to come back. So we are working diligently on a handful of different important aspects that we believe of for this upcoming session. One of the things that we're doing is my Chief of Staff, Maddie Connor, and Legislative Director Will Haynes are speaking with all of our division directors and finding out, kind of almost like a wish list of what would you like to do, what do we need to do, and then maybe what are some things that you've tried before and hasn't worked for one reason or another, and maybe we can give it another shot. So we're looking to be streamlined and efficient as much as we can, and so we'll definitely put together a good list and start working and talking to legislators very shortly about what we'd like to do. We'd like to kind of on the legislative topic, we are definitely in a little bit of a different financial spot right now as a state than we were a few years ago. There's a lot of things that have come to head, and there's just kind of perfect timing, and so us, along with the rest of the other state agencies, have seen a budget cut, and that definitely means that we have to look at how we run the agency through different lenses and figure out new and innovative ways to provide the same service, but maybe with not the same amount of resources. And I believe that we are doing that with the help from Greg and our financial team. We are making sure, obviously, that we're going to follow our budget, and then with the help of the rest of our team, we're figuring out ways to do it. And I think that it gives us an opportunity to, I'm going to call it, right size a lot of what we do. And so I'm proud of the work that our team has done. When I in my travels around the state, even with the some of the steps we've had to take, I've not seen any sort of decreases in services, and I know that our attendance is right where it always has been, and so I'm proud of that. One thing that did come out of another thing that came out of the legislative session was we had our McCormick's Creek capital funding pulled, and that was basically across the board. And so as of right now, we still have our plan for how to rebuild McCormick's Creek campground, but temporarily it is on hold to move forward with that project. So that will take another round of capital funding from the legislature or some other form of grants and that donations and that sort of thing. So before we move forward, we'll have to figure out another way financially. But other than that, I would say that the state of the DNR is good. We've had our campgrounds are getting back to high capacity. I think 2 weekends ago, Chris, you'd said 92% or 94% capacity. We have definitely felt the brunt of some more weather events, again, with Brown County and a lot of rain for a lot of our properties. Some of our beaches are multiple feet underwater at this point, and most likely will stay that way for a while because of all the rain that we have received. So, but I want to say thank you to the commission for being here and coming down to beautiful Spring Mill. And I really do appreciate your time and especially the fact that you care enough about the state's natural resources to be here and to help us, and your help is much appreciated. So, Brian, thank you very much.
Thank you, Director. Before we move on, Colonel Hunter, remind people about Carl Kelly, the Conservation Officer Youth Camp. I think it's always good to remember him very briefly, and that period of time for the 5th and 6th graders is sold out almost from the first minute the applications go online. It's a very popular thing. Your officers are involved, but I think it's worthy of a minute on Carl Kelly himself.
Carl was a sergeant District 6.
You can come up to the microphone if you don't. You can stand up and we can get you a stool.
I didn't hear it, but I'm sure it was funny. Carl Kelly was a
I forgot you have
sergeant.
a gun.
I'm sorry?
Never mind.
Carl Kelly was a sergeant in District 6. District 6 is central Indiana. He was on for 30-some years. They were doing a training exercise at Williams Dam for River Rescue School, and it was flood stage. There was a couple guys that got turned over in the boil. He had a jet-propelled boat and tried to make a swing through there to get him out, and wasn't able to. He hit the edge of the dam, and it flipped him. He got caught in the turmoil, and it ended up taking his life. So the other two guys actually eventually got spit out at the dam and survived, but that was in 1998.
A great legacy and a great memory
Yeah.
for a fallen officer
Yeah.
doing great work. Thank you for
Top-notch
that.
guy.
Appreciate that.
Right.
And I'm going to linger just one more second. Bront and Terry, this is your opportunity for a minute commercial. You guys lived the renovation of this. I don't know if you, Bront, why don't you go ahead and kind of share a little bit about some of the things that you found in the process, because it's really stunning. Yeah.
All right, well, welcome to Spring Mill Inn. I had the pleasure of growing up just outside the border of Spring Mill throughout my childhood, so this place means a great deal to me. Actually, my grandfather was CCC, and he dug the foundation out on this building, so it's very hits close to home for me. So now this building was built in 1939. It's our newest inn. So Potato Creek will dethrone that, but until that point in time, this is our newest inn. It was renovated extensively, I believe, in 1974. And there was the pool was built and a few other things, but since then it had not been significantly renovated. It's in a very, very wet area. There was, some humidity issues with all the caves, and that ultimately caused some mold issues. So whenever we came in to redo this building, it wasn't just a matter of, just making it look nice. It had to be torn down to the studs. So when you're in your room tonight, at some point till about a year ago, you could have stood on that floor and looked from one end to the other where the rooms are. We completely gutted the building. There had been many modifications made over the years, but none of the old, piping or electrical infrastructure or anything had been pulled out. So there was a whole lot of demolition that had to be done, and there's everything in the building is now new, but we are really, really pleased with the result. They've done a fantastic job of kind of keeping that lodgy feel, that warm, welcoming feel that Spring Mill was so known for, but yet modernizing it and using much more efficient infrastructure. You have the bird glass, so the birds won't fly into this, and we've made every every improvement we could. And one of the big things that was done was we have removed the pool, which was a maintenance nightmare, and it wasn't used much at all, and we've replaced it with a splash pad. So that's kind of what you see out here through the window. But we're very, very pleased with the result. Karen and her team have done an amazing job since it's been opened back up, and just can't say enough good things about the project. Terry, what am I leaving out?
I think you covered it well.
When we have some time to visit and mingle, it's a good opportunity to pull Bront aside. And
Yeah.
there were some neat things, and I don't remember what they were, that you found as you took every fork and spoon out of this building, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Thank you
Sounds
for
good.
doing all
Sounds
this, both of you, and a lot of the people that aren't here today that were responsible for that.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Now we'll continue with the rest of our director reports. I turn to Deputy Director Chris Smith.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Again, welcome to the Spring Mill Inn and Spring Mill State Park. Just as Bront mentioned, this is home. I grew up 5 minutes from here. This is the park that I started at. Bront actually hired me as a summer kid, so blame him. But yeah.
Look at you now.
Yeah, careful. No intention on this being a career path. Just came to get a summer job while going to college. So, but yeah, very very proud of this park, and it was really exciting to get to take Director Morrison around and show him, what at one point probably I took for granted because everybody had a state park. You just went there every week. So it's a really great place to be. Both the director and Bront kind of covered the renovation piece. I think the only thing that I would include was we took the opportunity to do some much needed ADA updates to it. Previously, when you came into the front door of this inn, you looked immediately at a very steep set of stairs. There was no ADA access to get you immediately in here. Unfortunately, you had to come in through the dining room. So that was one of the big projects there, and kind of pushed us down the path of kind of reconfiguring the lobby. I think it turned out well, and now is a very inviting space that all could use. So I think we were extremely pleased with the outcome of this project. At this point in the season, we've kind of made it to the halfway point of the traditional recreation season, getting through the 4th of July period. We saw extremely good crowds for the 4th, so both our park staff and our law enforcement staff were hopping for the weekend. As the director mentioned, we had a relatively wet start to our rec season, so we're a little bit behind of where we would like to be. At one point in time, I think we had a beach that was operational that wasn't flooded at that point. At this point, just Monroe and Patoka continue to be our beaches that are closed, and part of that is the partnership with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the flood control project, which takes precedent over the recreation piece. So hopefully we'll get there, but we get a couple more big rains and we probably won't see those beaches this year. This year, we are taking the opportunity to celebrate a couple of big anniversaries. Both Pokagon and Indiana Dunes turn 100 in 2025. They were the 4th and 5th parks into the system, and the 4th and 5th obviously to hit the century mark as well. McCormick, Turkey, and Clifty Falls all beat them there. So I know both of those parks are doing programming throughout the season to celebrate that monumental anniversary.
New ends coming in 26. Is that what I heard at all those?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's about the timeline.
I just thought you might have started something you want to finish.
An update on the Brown County Horse Camp, as the director mentioned, tornado hit the horse camp earlier this spring. Both staff from Division of State Parks and Division of Forestry were right in there working to alleviate the issues and taking down a lot of trees and picking up a lot of infrastructure. Unfortunately, having gone through this not too long ago, we learned a little bit, so we were a lot more efficient than we were when we had the same issue at McCormick. So actually, just last week, we opened up a portion of the horse camp. So the primitive site and about 12 electric sites are open at this point. Forestry staff are finishing kind of taking down the remaining risk trees in the area, and we're doing a sale of that salvage operation there. So we'll have those hopefully out of the way before long and get moving down that process of hopefully getting that full campground back up and in the system. On the Fish and Wildlife Nature Preserve side, would just mention that interested hunters can now apply for several of the reserve hunts online via the Activity Hub. So reserve hunts include our fish and wildlife areas, our private lands program, the youth deer season, and then the National Refuge deer hunts. Applications need to be submitted by midnight on July 30th, so that date's coming up really quick. But you can figure out more of the specifics on our website, on.in.gov/reserved hunts. While I'm talking licenses, I think we're going to be doing a lot of outreach this year, but I won't let the opportunity go by. So this is the first full season for our new license system that came online late in 2024. So we are encouraging everybody who has not been in that system yet to leave yourself plenty of time to become familiar with that system when you're buying your licenses. So probably not the night before deer season starts. It's probably not the time to get in there for the first time. So licenses are in the system now, can be be obtained, or if you want to go in and kind of look around and you have questions, our staff is prepared to help, but we would ask that everybody give a little extra time as they become familiar with that system. We've seen really good success and some really good comments on it. And then finally, Mr. Chairman, just real quick public service announcement with the 4th of July season and kind of with the rec season peaking up. Here's a hint: life jackets work. They don't work unless you wear them. So over the last couple of weeks, we've seen a series of drownings throughout the state. So just encourage everybody to please utilize them appropriately. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back to you.
I felt like you were talking to me about not buying your deer license the night before.
We've all been there, sir.
Okay. I want to make sure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Deputy Director Smith. We'll turn to Deputy Director Ryan.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commission members. I'll share a brief report from DNR's Regulatory Bureau. First, from the Division of Reclamation. You've heard me talk about this in the past, but they are wrapping up about a 2.5-year effort to plug orphan and abandoned oil and gas wells statewide. As of June 15th of 25, 411 wells have been plugged at a cost of a little over $24 million. This was an initial $25 million grant from Department of Interior. The initial goal of the program was 350 wells. So we plugged an additional 61 wells, which is tremendous success. Phase 2 of this effort, which includes an additional $14 million in funding, is underway, and we're focusing now on monitoring methane and abating these leaking and abandoned wells, as well as plugging additional wells as we find them. So that's about a third of Indiana's inventory of orphaned and abandoned wells. On April 21st, 2025, Governor Braun signed Executive Order 2563 that directs the completion of a statewide water inventory and management plan. This effort builds on studies conducted by the Indiana Finance Authority and will include the completion of regional water use and availability studies statewide, development of a statewide water planning framework, recommendations for expanding Indiana's water monitoring networks, and development of an online water data hub. Input from all water use sectors and the public will be sought beginning in October of 2025, and a final report will be presented to the Governor and General Assembly by the end of the year of 2026. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
We'll turn to Deputy Director Greg Sorrells.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I was last here in May, I was introduced as the interim. I can't tell you how excited I am to be here as the Deputy Director and CFO. After the last meeting, Deputy Director Smith pulled me to the side and he said, "Hey, you need to sell yourself." And the chairman asked you, and you said, "You're Greg." So I was probably just a little bit nervous maybe. But I've worked for the department almost 47 years. And I started out at Shade State Park digging fence post holes. And I probably was happiest then. But this has been a challenge, and I genuinely enjoy what I'm doing. I thank you for the confidence and trust that you put in me. So it has not been an easy task. We were running a deficit, and I'm pleased to say that on June 30th, we were in the black. I think the comptroller announced today that we had a $2.5 billion surplus. So it has taken everyone pitching in and helping get us there. So we're working through our operating budget. We received the 5% reduction, 5% reserve, which basically means about $17 million to the amount. So we're working through that. We have a strategic plan that we put together, and we're waiting on final approval of that. We're starting to work with divisions so that they can hit their targets and we can come in a little bit easier next June. We're still waiting on statewide preventive maintenance program and capital. We're also going to the August agenda for the budget committee with District 6 law enforcement, the Morgan Monroe campground, and the Harmony wastewater treatment plant. So from a staffing standpoint, we have 162 full-time vacancies, which we're going to have to maintain about 150 to hit our financial targets. So I think that's it, Mr. Chairman.
You didn't sound nervous. Good work. Congratulations and thanks for your years of service.
Thank you.
The year's young, so there's a lot of room for it to get screwed up between now and the end of the year. We will turn to the Chair of the Natural Resources Advisory Council, Pat Early. Pat, I don't think we had a meeting this year or before this, right?
No,
Correct.
we have not met since the last meeting, so I don't have anything
Okay.
significant to report.
Well, we appreciate that. Always good work. And if there's any items that the department or the commission would like to defer to the Natural Resources Advisory Council, please let us know. And we can at least have one meeting this year, huh? With that, before we move into the meat of the agenda, I'm going to make a decision to move the final agenda item up closer so that you guys don't have to stay here. I assume you're here for number 11. Pretty smart. So we're going to move that up after. We're going to do nature preserves, and then we'll move you guys up. We welcome all of the people here that are here to testify. We take this very, very seriously at the commission, and we want to make sure that your representation is noted. And we'll talk more about that when we get to the agenda item. Tom, I think you get the award for the furthest travel today. We appreciate your 2-minute tardy. Your 2-minute tardiness coming from Fort Wayne area is you're well within the margin of error. And yes, yeah, I will. And then Deborah, thank you for coming all the way down here. We appreciate you filling in as well. We are going to have 2 more meetings that are going to be regularly scheduled meetings in September and again in November. And at this moment, those are scheduled to be at the Garrison back in Indianapolis. And I also wanted to thank Mark. Are you still planning? You got one foot out the door as our representative from the Academy of Sciences. So this is your last meeting? This is my last meeting. Well, for those, the commission is made up of a very diverse group of people sitting up here at the table representing citizens and all sorts of folks. And the Academy of Sciences over the years has proved invaluable, and you've continued a long line of very strong leadership. So do we know who's going to be taking your place?
Yes, Dr. Jeff Stallman. He's a ODI specialist.
Did you guys lose a bet or something?
He volunteered.
All right. Well, we do appreciate that very much. Any updates on the AOPA commission or the committee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have not had an AOPA meeting, as you are aware. The Division of Hearings has transferred to the OLAP, and we are waiting on word as there are those matters that were started or in progress prior to that transfer. The AOPA committee will continue to hear any of those. And at this time, we're not aware of any. We know there are some that will be coming. But.
Well, for those that sat on the AOPA committee, which is a permanent committee of this body, we thank all of those over the years that have participated. And I know that that's going to continue to fill a valuable role and thankless at times. But for those from the commission perspective, there was a major change we are all aware of that, and that the Division of Hearings, as we have been accustomed for the last 30 years plus, is now the hearing officers have been absorbed into the Office of Administrative Law Proceedings, and the function of that Division of Hearings is in the very, very capable hands now of our DNR legal team. And it's taken a little bit, but it was a seamless process. And I know that Libby, and as the director of that division, worked with Whitney and so many other people. So thank you for making that run smoothly. With that comes some trickiness at times. And before we get into a couple of these agenda items, I just want to make sure that I make this point. We do take public comment very seriously, and we take these meetings with public input very seriously. And I know that there's been some questioning of posting of agendas and other things. And I went back to make sure, and I just want everybody to know that we are required and we have posted those accordingly. And we look forward to everybody's representation. So hopefully we can have a civil conversation, but when we get to your agenda item, specifically what is known as 11, we'll talk some more about this. But I just want to reassure everybody that this is a process that we take very seriously, all the way from the hearing officers to the commission meetings. Anything else for the good of the cause before we jump in? Otherwise, we'll go to our happy place. Ron, you want to come up and talk about nature preserves? This is agenda item 3, consideration of the addition to the Brock Sampson Nature Preserve in Floyd County.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Ron Helmick. I'm the Assistant Director for the Office of Public Lands with the Division of Fish, Wildlife, and Nature Preserves. This is in consideration of the addition to the Brock Sampson Nature Preserve in Floyd County. This proposed addition contains 46.3 acres and adds to the existing 586-acre nature preserve currently there in Floyd County. It is approximately 7 miles southwest of New Albany, and this area protects an example of the southern Indiana knobs and an important block of forested habitat in Indiana's Highland Rim Natural Region. This nature preserve consists of a topography that has heavily dissected slopes and ravine forests, along with a number of bedrock outcrops, which are unusual in this region. Siltstone glades are found on the south-facing slopes, and xeric upland forest dominated by Virginia pine and chestnut oak are found on these glades and on the ridgetops. Moister ravine forests are also found in the proposed preserve. These community types, along with their expected component flora and fauna, contain many species that are area-sensitive forest interior plants and animals and are dependent upon large unfragmented forest ecosystem. This site is utilized by the southeastern crown snake, as well as the eastern box turtle and the northern cricket frog. Noteworthy butterfly species found in this preserve include the sooty azure and the West Virginia white. This tract is owned and managed by the Department of Natural Resources. The Division of Fish, Wildlife, and Nature Preserves recommends dedication of this site as a state nature preserve. This addition is 46.3 acres, and it's in addition to the 586 current Brock Sampson Nature Preserve.
Any questions for Ron? If not, is there a motion to accept the dedication as presented? It has been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Ron. We'll move to consideration of addition to the Dr. Sherman A. Minton Jr. Nature Preserve in Floyd County.
This is actually near Brock Sampson. It's north of Brock Sampson. So this nature reserve addition contains 107.3 acres and is located about 8 miles southwest of downtown New Albany. It expands protection of the previously dedicated Sherman Minton Nature Reserve, which is 1,301 acres. This natural area protects a portion of the Knobstone Hills landscape, which is a dramatically dissected complex of steep forested hills and ravines. And this addition contains siltstone glades, a dry upland forest, and mesic forest. Noteworthy animal species found in this nature reserve include the bobcat, the gray bat, the worm-eating warbler, cerulean warbler, and the hooded warbler. Several state-threatened plants are also found here, including the Deem's beard tongue and Harvey's buttercup. This preserve is named in honor of Dr. Sherman A. Minton Jr., a noted authority and expert who authored the Reptiles and Amphibians of Indiana. Dr. Minton was a medical doctor who grew up in New Albany. This is also owned by the Department of Natural Resources, and the Division of Fish, Wildlife, and Nature Reserves recommends dedication of this site as a state nature preserve.
Thank you. Any questions for Ron? If not, is there a motion to accept the dedication as presented? It has been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Consideration of the, oh, this is Lene. I'm sorry, you're done. No wonder I only had two. Lene, if you want to come forward, we'll do you, and then we'll move the agenda items up. This is consideration of the request to amend Information Bulletin Number 2, the roster of Indiana animals, insects, and plants that are extirpated, endangered, threatened, or rare.
Good evening. The first request is to remove ospreys from the list of species of special concern. Ospreys are still protected under the Federal Migratory Bird Treaty Act as well as state law. So they still have protections from take and permits required for possession. They were first added to our endangered species list in 1984 due to declines associated with the pesticide DDT, and then we did reintroduction efforts between 2003 and 2006. So now the population has met conservation goals. The species was downlisted from state endangered to special concern in 2019. Ospreys have now expanded past their known historic breeding range, and there's targets of 50 nesting territories throughout the state have already been achieved, and they continue to expand throughout the state. So the non-game bird technical advisory committee and state's ornithologists have recommended removing it from that species of special concern list. Another request is to add the slender glass lizard to the species of reptiles on the special concern list. This is a prairie dwelling species of the central United States that reaches western Indiana, known mainly in the historic Prairie Peninsula, part of prairie dwelling species of reptiles in remnant and restored grasslands. Modern records are only showing them in a few large tracts of land, primarily that Willow Slough, Kankakee Sands area. We believe the Knox County population is now extirpated. So it's now a restricted distribution in the state with disconnected populations. It's had a loss of preferred grassland habitat. So it's just those two known populations we're recommending to add that species to that list of special concern. Another one to add to the list of special concern is the butterfly mussel, which is only known to occur in large rivers around the state, the Ohio River drainage, Wabash River, West Fork White River, and East Fork White River. Its only known reproducing population is remaining just outside the main stem of the Ohio in a small section of the East Fork of White River in Lawrence and Martin counties. And even around the country, it's got restricted distribution in many states and imperiled in other states such as Illinois and Ohio. So that Mollusk and Crustacean Technical Advisory Committee is recommending to add this to the species of special concern list. A few other changes were made to species of birds, reptiles, fish, and mollusks based on new scientific research and literature are recommended by the American Fisheries Society, the Society for the Study of Amphibians and Reptiles, and the American Ornithological Society. And I'll let Ron come and talk about the insects and the plant species.
All right, for the insect changes, they consisted all of name changes. So there were no rank changes or additions or deletions to the list. And then I believe in your packet, you received a summary for the plants, and a quick summary of this was that there were 11 name changes for species, 13 rank changes, 1 species was removed, and then 7 species were added to the list. And then that included 5 species of mosses, which we're getting some expert help on and figuring out what we have here in Indiana. So.
Mark, did you get it right?
Why was the word removed?
Let's see. That was the it was determined not to be the species. So it was yes. So.
Thank you, Ron. Any questions for Lene or for Ron? Comments?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Just kind of in general, Ron. So last week I had the opportunity to visit Hoosier Prairie Nature Preserve, and that's about the 4th one I've visited now. And Andrew and Matt and Scott were there with me, and Hoosier Prairie is in Lake County. When I saw that it was in Lake County, I figured it'd be south of 30 and kind of out in the rural part of that county. It's not. It's nestled in the middle of Highland, Griffith, and Cherville. And if you know that area of the state at all, you're probably thinking to yourself, how in the world is there a 1,000-acre plus nature preserve there, but it is, and it's an amazing piece of property. The work that our folks in nature preserves do is unbelievable. Part of it, they showed where there had been a lot of invasive species plants that had moved into an area that Marathon Oil used to own. A lot of that property is bordered by the big gas drums and a field for Marathon. And we went in and we scraped off that top layer of all the invasives and all that soil, and got back down to the sandy soil, which is native up there. And now what's there is an unbelievable prairie that, and our folks are so unbelievable. You'll be walking through an area and they'll look and they'll point at a plant and that looks like all the other plants to me. And for them, that it's an aha moment. I'll say, this is unbelievable because, and they'll tell you why. But there's a grass that is growing there that there's only one other place in North America that is found, and that's up in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And it's in that it's in that little piece of property that we had scraped off all the topsoil and all that other invasive stuff. And it was dormant, laying dormant in that soil and just waiting for the opportunity to come back. And so the work that Ron, that you and your team does, I respect so much, and it's so important to the state. And for an area of the state that is so industrialized and urban like that, to have that jewel sitting there, I think it's unbelievable. And it's one of the great things about the DNR. So thank you to you and your team, the work you do.
Thank you very much.
Well
Yes.
stated. If there's no other questions or comments, is there a motion for the consideration of the request to amend the information bulletin number 2 as presented? It has been moved
Second.
and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you both. Thank you, Lene.
Thank you.
In light of what I said earlier, we'll move agenda item 11 up in deference to your time. It would also be appropriate to note if anybody is live streaming or watching, we are monitoring that if there happens to be questions, which leads me to what I started this with, is that we take public input very seriously. And at a moment of final adoption, especially, we know that people have come from different places around and have different interests, but there has been a copious amount of background on this and conversations and public comment through email, phone, online. Some of those were even extended beyond the timeframes. So in respect to the folks that have asked to speak, I have 5 cards here, and I don't want to put them in any particular order, but Whitney, are you representing a group? Okay. And Mike Kelly? Okay. And Scott? Looks like we're going down the line. Rosemarie and Janet. All of you are individual citizens. Okay. In that, I think what we'll do, to be fair, is to allow each of you 3 minutes to make your statements of whatever you like. I do ask that you be respectful of the time limit. And we know that we have, all these commissioners have received a forest full of background materials and have read. So try to keep comments if you can avoid being redundant. We appreciate very much you being here, and this is an important issue. Anything else for the good of the cause before we move in? If not, we'll move to the agenda item 11. Next, consideration of the hearing officer report on rule processing, public hearing, and hearing officer analysis with recommendation regarding final action to add 312 IAC 30 governing underground storage of carbon dioxide. I invite Whitney Wampler from our legal division.
Good evening. My name is Whitney Wampler, and I am the Assistant General Counsel for the Administration Bureau for the Indiana Department of Natural Resources. Due to the changes made by House Enrolled Act 1466, I was assigned to the Natural Resources Commission and replaced Aaron Bonnar as the hearing officer on this rulemaking item. Preliminary adoption occurred at the March Natural Resources Commission meeting. The notice of the first public comment period and notice of public hearing was published on April 9th. The comment period ran for 50 days. Just to make sure you know, the statute requires 30 days, so this by itself was 20 days longer than what the statute requires. The public hearing was held in Randolph County. There is no requirement under the Indiana Code that we hold public hearings in a specific location. The notice of second comment period and notice of public hearing were published on June 11th. This comment period ran for 30 days, as is required by the Indiana Code. The public hearing was held at the Fort Harrison Inn in Marion County. Comments received between the end of the first comment period and the beginning of the second period were counted toward comments received, so there was an additional 32 days of comments in total beyond what is required by the Indiana Code. There were 2 comments, one from the Indiana Department of Transportation regarding their practices, and one from the Indiana Manufacturers Association that had some clarifying points that prompted us to make a few changes. Those were included in the packet. We would recommend that this be considered for final adoption.
Any questions
Does
for
anybody-
Whitney? I know this is important, so just stay close if there's any questions perhaps.
Yeah.
And again, I'll just keep a timeline. I'm not going to go in any particular order, but your name was first. So Whitney, Whitney. Well, that's kind of weird. We have 2 Whitneys. Whitney, if you'd like to introduce yourself, and we look forward to your comments.
Hello, I am Whitney Boyce, and I live in an area impacted by the Wabash Valley Resources Pilot Project. I will absolutely be civil with my comments, although some of them will be harsh and pointed, because a polite mask has done nothing for our communities. It has gained us no answers and no help. And we have faced nothing but obstacles and travails in trying to participate and be made aware of these processes. I'm a simple farm girl. I grew up digging fence posts and bottle feeding calves, and I don't know anything about this. But I do know that this meeting is unlawful according to Indiana Code 5-14-1.5-5 because the agenda was not posted 48 hours prior, and I have screenshots to prove it. This is unlawful because the press release sent out by the DNR does not meet the Indiana Code standard, as it did not include an agenda, and the NRC website did not include the agenda 48 hours prior. The hearing video has still not been posted. No response to comments from the second hearing was received. And the summary of comments did not include very specific concerns voiced by the impacted communities. The DNR is currently refusing to perform their duty to adopt rules to supplement Indiana Code 14-39, which rules supposed to close regulatory gaps and clarify processes to carry out Indiana Code 14-39-2-4. The legislators, their legal advisors, and our legal advisors all agree that there is no process in place to support this code that uses eminent domain, now PR'd, to read forced integration and amalgamation against communities that do not understand the legal processes. There is no process for verifying voluntary easements in these rules, no process for calculating and confirming the components of 60 or 70% requirements. There is no process for verifying or notifying landowners. Everything in these rules currently relies on the company's word, and I am sure we all believe that a company will be truthful when there's billions of tax dollars, carbon credits, and profits at stake. Why does the DNR refuse to clarify the process for 14-39-2-4 and others? Is it because the DNR wants to allow companies to potentially falsify information and gain access to eminent domain unlawfully? Is it because the DNR doesn't want the average citizen, like the people in my community who are impoverished and underserved, to know how to act with these processes? Or is it both? The DNR is misrepresenting and manipulating Indiana code and statutory requirements to justify their continued dereliction of duty, claiming that the DNR does not have the authority to create rules for safety, setback, or emergency response because they are preempted by federal agencies. These are fraudulent claims intended to placate the vast public outcry, as represented by all of these signs here, who each represent at least 5 people from my community who could not be here because we did not know what was going on until Monday after 10 a.m. As Indiana Code 13-14-9-3 and 13-14-9.4 outline specific procedural processes that the DNR must follow to publish, explain, and justify rules that exceed federal standards, do not tell me the DNR cannot exceed federal standards when the code says that they must justify why they do with data collection and research and experimentation. The DNR must not understand Indiana Code, or they are simply putting the interests of corporations over citizens. The DNR has made it very clear that you, this committee, is an autonomous body, and that autonomy gives you the authority and the responsibility to be more than a yes man to the DNR. Vote no on these proposed carbon rules and hold yourselves and the DNR accountable. Fulfill your duty to the people. Vote no and protect the communities impacted until there are meaningful rules that have not been included by any community suggestion that protect communities from these companies that the government has made lawful to come in and steamroll us, take our land, and put our children in danger. I beg you, as I have been begging for 2 years, vote and fight like your children are going to be put at risk by these projects. Ask for safety precautions, safety measures, requirements, because my children will be put at risk. Thank you.
I'm not a speaker, but I have a few things to say. These rules do not do what they claim they do. They do not protect the environment. They do not protect the people. Rules we're talking about are carbon, not supercritical carbon. There's a difference. The rules address the issue specific. The rules do not address specific issues to pressurized supercritical waste, 2,200 pounds plus the wellhead pressure. Permits for carbon sequestration, that means putting it in the ground. You're not putting carbon in the ground. You're putting supercritical carbon in the ground, even if it makes it there through the pipe, because the pipe can't stand it either. It's hazardous and deadly to everything. Carbon is not. The atmosphere can take care of the carbon. There's less than 0.04 ppms of carbon. That's not dangerous to humans. And it's got a long way to go before it becomes there. But supercritical carbon is dangerous to the environment, the people, or the, I'm losing my track. I'm sorry. But they're putting it in the ground and acting like it's never going to come back to its original form and come up. It will. Ones already have leaked at ADM, a well leak, and in Mississippi pipeline rupture. No safety structure included in these rules. Nothing that specifies or protects water, people, or environment are in these rules. Where are the regulations on these projects to protect our aquifer? What will you do if it leaks into the aquifer? What are you going to put in place to fix it? Nothing. Once it's down that deep, there's nothing you can do to stop it. You can stop something if it goes wrong. If you can't stop something when it goes wrong, once it's there, you have to make rules to protect the aquifers now before it happens. This is a pilot plant. What they're doing is a full-fledged state or full-scale plant. That's not an experiment. Let's see. Wait a minute. DNR is supposed to protect the water, the people, and the environment. What are you going to put in there that will do that? I'm asking the DNR to do its job. And that was my comments. And I got copies too. I'll give you if you want. And thank you.
We will go now. Scott.
My name is Scott Nogel. I'm a resident of Vermillion County. We were at the hearing last Friday, and I look around and I see a lot of faces that weren't there. Did you people zoom in on that hearing? Did you read any notes of the concerns and questions that were raised at this hearing? How can you do that in 4 days and get a good handle on what's going on? I don't think you do. I don't think you're really looking at this as a serious matter as you say you are. There's been a lot of gray area that's happened in this. I mean, did you zoom in? Did you look at the questions and concerns we raised? And you're all going to vote on that. Here we sit today, going to make a vote. And I don't think you're educated on the subject. I don't think you're qualified to vote on the subject. That's just my opinion.
Noted.
Okay. If you would have been there and you would have listened to the people, you would have seen a reoccurring theme. We're asking the DNR to do their job, protect our people, protect our water, protect our land and our wildlife. That's what we're asking. Do your job. We're not asking anything special. That's all we want. We know that Wabash Valley Resources is sitting there with all their little pretty pictures and fancy models and saying, hey, trust the science, trust the science. I'll bet that's the same line they used in Decatur, Illinois. And we know how that ended up, don't we? Okay, let's look at facts. We're going to ask you to look at facts, not models or pictures. Look at Decatur. They had leaks. It's unsafe. They had contamination. People died. That should matter. There's your facts. That's what we're asking you people to do. Look at the facts. Don't look at the models. Don't look at the pretty pictures. All the mumbo jumbo numbers that they're pulling out of the air, they haven't even done the right test yet. Don't look at all that. Let's look at the facts. Look at Decatur, Illinois. There are the facts. I'll bet if the people that issued those permits had to do this all over again, it'd be a whole different story. And I think the question you guys need to ask yourself, what is a life worth? Do I want to be responsible for another Decatur, Illinois? And it's on you. That's what this vote comes down to. Until these questions are answered, there's more public safety, there's more oversight, there's better rules and regulations for this company. I would ask that there's no vote on this. Stop it right now. Don't let it go any farther. There's always times later. Make them prove they know what they're doing. It's going to be safe. Let's get true facts, not hocus pocus numbers. And I hope that when you people ever get in a situation like this and you have to plead for your life, you get longer than 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rosemary, do you have anything different to add, Rosemary?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm glad you got my name right.
I can read.
We got on first term basis really quickly. I do have some
Would you
other
prefer Ms.
things.
Scott?
Oh, I'm sorry. Rosemary Scott, I'm from Terre Haute, Vigo County. We came all this way. We probably would have driven to California if we had to. Because when something's in your backyard, it's funny how it comes straight to focus. I would ask each of you, although it's really not possible to feel what it feels like for many of my fellow residents of Vigo County, for you to understand what that would be like. But I want you to try to picture this pipeline in front of your house. You look out the front door, it's a half a mile away. It's a couple of 100 yards away. It's 2 miles, 2.5 miles from one of your elementary schools. It's 4 miles from another elementary school. Every day, the bus drivers are saying, gosh, hope today's not the day there's a leak. Hope today's not the day that the kids are there and we have a leak. Hope today's not the day that the plume goes further than they think it will and it affects one of our local hospitals. Picture yourself in those scenarios. And I know there are plenty of people from the company, any of these companies around the state, who could say, oh, it's safe, it's safe, it's safe. Well, y'all remember the $10 O-ring? I think that was safe too, wasn't it? Do we remember the Exxon Valdez? How many times were those plans gone over? Any of us that have or paying attention at all know the word disaster. It's things that are unforeseen. And that's what we want you to focus on. How do you know? You cannot ever say 100%. But the DNR is supposed to be our protection. So that's why it's incumbent upon you to make these considerations. Think of worst case scenarios. For heaven's sake, we're right here in front of this beautiful park. We have all these dedicated people discussing the mollusk, the birds, insects, plants, invasives, things we really care about, things that are so important to our state. How would this be put on the back burner? How would this not be one of the most important things? We care about what's endangered. These people's livelihoods are endangered. This is farmland. This affects what your house will be worth in the future. Real estate agents have told us it's going to be really hard to sell a home with a pipeline out in the yard. It's going to be really hard to get people to move here, live in your subdivision, send their children to your school when the school has a pipeline 2.5 miles away. I'm not sure which gentleman along this line was discussing the wells, the orphaned and abandoned wells that you have had to deal with now. What happens in the future when these dumps, they call them wells, but they're full of waste products, so we feel like they fit the definition of a dump. What happens when those dumps need taken care of? Let's say we are lucky enough that we escape a disaster or a leak. What happens when they outlive their life? That's on the taxpayers, I'm assuming. I don't know who else will foot the bill. Also on the taxpayers is if this goes through and it's this close to elementary schools, who is going to supply the money to adapt that school building so children can escape? You know, if you understand how this works, and I hope so many of you have been paying attention, you know, you have to go high to escape this. Do we offer money to these schools and say, we will pay for the stairways to get your children to the attic when there's a leak so that we can at least get the kids where it's safe? Because people have said to us, well, they'll call the fire department. You all understand they will be of no help. They won't be able to get there because their engine won't turn over. Understanding what this gas does and where it sits on the ground is tantamount to understanding why we're upset. And if I didn't have already maybe gone over my 3 minutes, I would love to spend another 3 minutes just discussing eminent domain, because the fact that we're in this position is terrible, that these farmers, that these landowners can't say, no, we don't want this. But
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Appreciate all of your passion. Janet, I would pronounce your last name, but I'm sure I'd mess it up. So I'm going to go with Janet. Cientio. Would you like to come forward? Is there anybody else that wishes to speak that hasn't filled out a card? Just curious. Go ahead.
Thank you for this time. I am Janet Cientio. I am from Terre Haute, Indiana, Vigo County. I am a farm owner. My family farm has been since 1834. My sister and I are the two women that have inherited first time our family farm. My community means a great deal to me. And I feel that there are so many ifs and concerns and fears that the DNR has to look at to see what is something out of their realm. As far as I have watched, 100-year-old DNR has always been for the environment, for protection, and education. I, as a farmer, know how important that is to be a good steward to my farm, and it is something I carry on with my children who will inherit my farm. The fact that we have to know an emergency response plan in the event of a catastrophic rupture is something that needs to be shared with us, the public. How will emergency responders be there to take care of that emergency that will be so great that our rural fire stations and rural outlying area to get to is going to be very difficult, because we know that the CO2 will not be able, you won't be able to run your vehicle unless it's electric. How will this be where they can come into the community and handle a disaster? We have to know, are the hospitals going to be prepared? How much of the state is aware of these communities, underserved and rural? They're out here where we really do count on our volunteer fire departments. And if you understand how small and how much they are prepared to do, it's important to have that in place. And the information is not being given at this present time enough to give people trust and know that our lives matter, that we are important, that our children are important, and that you take us seriously. So it's going to take a lot more than just making a quick vote. There's more entailed to the whole picture of this whole project. It is all a new science. And I appreciate your time, and thank you for letting me speak.
Okay, any questions from the commission? Anybody have any? I have a couple things I'd like to say. Mr. Nogu, you asked us to do our job. We are doing our job. And this was given to us by the legislature. So this body is doing what the legislature asked us to do, trying to do it the best we can. There are varying national, the EPA has jurisdiction, the state has stuff, there's all kinds. It's a very complex issue. That's what I'm trying to relay to you. But we are doing our job. And as citizen appointees and proxies for other state departments, I believe the best efforts have gone into this to come to where we are today. We don't need to talk about our competency or whether or not we zoomed in. There's been copious background materials provided to this commission, including a full detail of public records, backgrounds. This goes back to the legislature in almost 2 decades where there's been public hearings, and you are all aware of that, I'm sure. So we do feel like we've cataloged a lot of those public comments. I can sense the passion. I know that this is important to you, and we do thank you so much for coming and making your voice known. Again, any questions from the commission? Any comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
if I may just have a question, and it's really for clarification and maybe a representative from the department. It was mentioned by a couple of the presenters with regard to safety considerations, and I know a lot of thought and work has gone into that. So maybe a little more clarification or comment around the safety parameters.
Yeah, absolutely. So Indiana Code 14-39, there are 2 separate chapters within there. One, the first chapter pertains to pipeline. The second chapter pertains to carbon sequestration projects as a whole. So the safety aspect, so the EPA under their Class 6 program under the Safe Drinking Water Act handles Class 6 permits. Indiana does not at present have Class 6 primacy. Your Class 6 permit includes things like your emergency and remedial response plan, as well as all kinds of other documentation. Okay, well, it says that online, I understand, but it says that. And when we've spoken with the EPA, as of right now, our statutes and our rules, because we don't have primacy, you have to apply for that, do not cover these aspects because of federal preemption and the supremacy clause of the United States Constitution. PHMSA under, and I did double check and wrote it down, it was the Hazardous Liquid Pipeline Act of 1979. PHMSA was established in 2004 as the agency within the United States Department of Transportation that currently oversees pipeline safety. We understand that they are in the process of adopting new rules. They are still the agency that handles that. That again is a preemption supremacy clause issue where there is a federal statute that covers something, the state cannot also cover that. It is supremacy. So that is the reason that the rules themselves do not cover safety at this time. Now, if the Department of Transportation would be tasked with applying for primacy, which we do have for Class 2 wells, the Division of Reclamation does have the authority to deal with Class 2 wells because we did apply for Class 2 primacy many years ago. Then we would be tasked with updating the Indiana code and the rules to accommodate those safety items because those things would be regulated by the department. As the Indiana code states, the department is tasked with regulating carbon sequestration projects. So if we would obtain Class 6 primacy, that's a different conversation. But we have not at this time obtained Class 6 primacy. And the statute and the rules were both drafted. At the time, we were not obtaining primacy. We were under the impression that was not the case.
Can I ask a question about primacy? Just as it pertains to safety procedures.
I would prefer that we just keep this. I mean, the comments, there's been back and
There's other
forth.
states that don't have primacy
Right.
regarding safety
Let's
procedures,
just-
but I just wanted to make the committee aware of that.
Thank you.
Because that was not
Are you
included
finished?
in the summary of the comments.
Did you have more that you wanted to say?
Unless there's another question, I do not.
I do have.
Yeah.
Sure.
I know there was a working group that put this together and they spent close to a year putting it together. Can you give just the rest of the commission a little background on who the working group was and what their qualifications are?
So there was what
This question was about the working group, who made up the working group dating back months. Thank you.
So the department had reached out and requested kind of input from the Department of Transportation, from Indiana Farm Bureau, from the IURC, from possible projects. At the time, there were only so many projects that had at that time submitted Class 6 applications. So there were individuals who may submit projects, they may not, to come in and discuss the items that appear under the Indiana code for which the department has the ability to regulate at this time. And so that was the makeup of the working group, was essentially INDOT, the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, Farm Bureau, and then certain members of potential projects, some of which at the time had submitted applications and some of which had not.
Thank you. Good questions. Anybody else? Thank you to all those and to DNR Legal that put this presentation together. And thank you, everybody. I assume there's nobody that is here to speak for this project. So with that, I'm going to now call for a motion for the consideration of the hearing officer's report on rule processing, public hearing and hearing officer analysis with recommendation final action to add 312 IAC 30 governing underground storage of carbon dioxide. Is there a motion? It is moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. again, thank you very much. I'm sure this issue is going to require more down the road, but thank you for making the trip here today. We greatly appreciate it. Okay, we'll move back to you're busy today because you have the next several, I believe. Agenda item 6 is the consideration of the hearing officer report, including findings and propose to the Natural Resources Commission as to recommendations to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers regarding Two Herons Marina rate-making petition.
Do you want me to go up there?
Yeah,
Okay.
just
Yep.
stay up there for these.
Okay.
It'll be easier for them to hear you.
Hello, my name is Whitney Wampler, and I'm the Assistant General Counsel for the Administration Bureau for the Department of Natural Resources. This is for consideration of the hearing officer report, including findings and proposed to the Natural Resources Commission as to recommendations to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers regarding Four Winds Marina's rate-making petition, administrative cause number 24-SP-027. In its petition, Four Winds requested a rate increase of 5%. The department determined the petition also includes the establishment of minimum and maximum rates. The minimum maximum slip rates are based on an individual slip holder's choice of payment structure and billing when leasing the slip. A hearing officer's or commission's recommendation for a rate increase shall not be withheld unless the rates proposed exceed the fair market rates charged by operators of other similar privately owned resort developments comparable to the project in the area. The commission exercises its authority, and it was determined that this 5% request did not exceed the other marinas in the area. So we are requesting that this rate increase be approved.
I assume there's nobody here from the marina. Good. Yes.
Isn't 6 Two Herons, not 4 Winds?
It is. I was gonna.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading 7. That's my bad. That was my bad. I
See, we're going
apologize.
to miss you, Mark.
Thank you very much. So you are correct. I apologize. So Two Herons requested slit rate increases from 3.03% to 11.48% with an average increase of 7.3%. They also included in their petition a request for rate establishment with 4 new dock sizes. It's noted that due to the major storm damage on June 25th, 2020, I think it was 2024, but it may have been 2025, Two Herons built and repaired several slips and removed 1. Again, this was found to not be excessive in coordination with the other marinas in the area, and so it is recommended that this rate increase be approved.
If there's no other questions, we've had 6 presented, and we also had 7, but we'll start with 6. Is there a motion to accept the hearing officer's recommendation as presented for the Two Herons Marina? So moved. Is there a second? Second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. I don't know that we need to repeat your presentation, so if there is a motion for the consideration of the hearing officer's report regarding the Four Winds rate-making petition, is there a motion? So moved. Is there a second? Second. And a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? These are not the most exciting things that the commission does.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I might just ask, I know during the process too, that there is input from the current slip holders as
Yes.
well. And from my understanding of the materials, there has been no opposition or major complaints, right?
Yes, so there's a requirement that in order to hold a hearing, there has to be 10% of the current slip renters have to oppose. While there were a handful, I think for the most we received on any one petition was 5, and that was not anywhere near 10%. I believe 1 received 2, and basically and each of them just requested that the rates not be increased. There was not any additional commentary.
Okay, great. Thank you for that.
Good question.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Agenda item 8, Whitney. Agenda item 8.
I promise I'll get better
Consideration
with
of hearing
this
officer
time.
report, including findings and proposed to the Natural Resources Commission recommendations for the Kent's Harbor rate-making petition.
Kent's Harbor, in their petition, requests the slip rate increases from 11.11% to 11.5% with an average of Oh, that was not included in there. Okay. And, okay, so that's also in here. Oh, you don't want to do the slips? Oh, okay. That is good to know. I apologize. So they are looking for a lodging increase of 10.71% to 47.36% with an average of 12.5%. There were no comments received to request a public hearing on this one, and it was determined that the rates are not excessive compared to other marinas, and we request that this rate increase be approved.
So in the other proposals, you had comparisons with other marinas. At least in what I'm seeing here, there is no comparisons paperwork that we got.
That might have been because this was lodging only and not slips.
So do they not compare lodging to other locations?
Historically, I don't recall that in particular, but it could be. But I know we've dealt with rate and slips.
So what was in, there was only one packet that I prepared. The other packets were given to me by the Division of Hearings. So if it was not included in there, my assumption is it was not needed to be included in there.
Oh, okay.
I prepared Four Winds. That was the only one that I prepared.
Yeah.
And that was part of the transition. And
That is
historically, we usually don't have 5 of these on our agendas. They come periodically and we can, there's usually representatives. Thank you for being here.
That's what I was just going to say, Mr. Chairman,
So-
maybe the representative
Yeah.
who I'm sure is knowledgeable around competitive rates there and making the application.
Can you speak, introduce yourself, please? Why don't you come forward? You have a great voice. You might as well use the microphone.
I'm Kent Reineking, and I own Kent's Harbor Marina and the Sagamore Resort. So this is related to the Sagamore Lodging Resort. So in the bulletin, Rule 20 that we all follow, it's slips that really take up all of the comps, the comparables, and then you have to send out to all your renters, your slip renters, that in terms of lodging, basically we just request the lodging change, and then we have to post in our office what those lodging changes will be. And that's essentially it. So then it's just left up to what used to be the Division of Hearings to look at that. So
Thank you for
Anyway.
coming. Appreciate that.
You're
Good
welcome.
question. Okay, is there a motion to accept the hearing officer's report as presented for Kent's Harbor, agenda item 8? So moved. Is there a second? And a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Agenda item 9, consideration of the hearing officer's report for Hoosier Hills rate making petition.
In its petition, Hoosier Hills requested rate increases up to 16.67% with an average increase of 4.05%. While the requested increases are substantial, they remain below the market rates for comparable marinas. It looks like, yeah, so for this one, it looks like, while yes, the increases were substantial, this one was they held off due to this passage of 1623. We initially thought that fees for marinas were going to have to be put into rule, and that was actually excluded in 2024. And so the reason for this increase being slightly higher than maybe they normally requested was because of that. And this was also determined to be below what is charged in other locations that are nearby. We request that this be considered for approval.
Agenda item 9, is there, Mark, do you have a question?
Yeah, it just seems like this is being compared against Four Winds. And we just saw Four Winds is increasing their rate again. And so it's being compared to the old Four Winds. And so next year, or they can do the same thing and say, hey, they increased their rate, now they're going to increase. So it seems like a non-ending cycle of just increasing, comparing to these things over and over. If you're comparing to the same ones, is what I'm saying.
Ken, maybe you can help some with this. I'm going to ask you to
I
put
guess
on
I
a
don't
bigger,
understand
broader
the
picture
question.
here. When it comes to lodging, because that's what you're talking
No,
about.
no, this is
You're
slips.
talking about the slips. Never mind.
Sorry, so 6 and 7 were slips.
Yep.
This is 9.
Right.
Yes,
Right? And so
yes.
you're comparing to Four Winds, right, for your analysis.
Yes.
But these are the old rates of now, since we just passed the Four Winds. These are the old rates of Four Winds,
Correct.
correct? So it's now no longer, even if we agree to this, and I think we should, it's immediately out of date, right? Because now Four Winds has upped
okay,
their
I see
rates
what you're saying.
already.
So
right?
what they're requesting for is a rate increase up to 16.67% with an average increase annually of 4.05%.
Okay, so this is going to slowly increase over time.
Yes, so I think they're going to do it. It's my understanding they will be doing a phase in.
Okay.
So it will get them up to much closer to where Four Winds would be.
And so Four Winds in the future would not be significantly higher than Hoosier Hills?
That is my understanding, yes.
Okay, so, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
The way I understood it from what I read, they can do this every year. Because I
Yeah.
feel like
They
we
can.
just did an increase with Four Winds like a year ago.
Yeah, we did.
Not uncommon.
And
It's
I-
unusual to have this many on the.
And I understand that. I mean, I was just confused as to why it just feels like it's like, I'm in the same boat with Mark, that it feels like it's just a recurring cycle of
I'm just glad it
increases.
did get into
I don't
statute.
know the boat.
That would have been a mess.
And I guess, Mr. Chairman, I would just say it's kind of that balance of, the administrative rule requires them to come to us.
Yeah.
Historically, we haven't been a body who increases the fee dramatically.
Right.
So they come more frequently because we haven't set it up to where they could go at a higher rate and be set for a longer period of time. So in a way, we've kind of done this to ourselves as well. And I guess to your point, Mark, we have to consider the current rate at the time we're doing the consideration. And when two of them come together, we're considering rates that they're both attempting to change, knowing that, immediately we just change one and it's no longer good, but that's kind of the process we're held to.
Right. Yeah. It would be nice to be comparing to some stable value rather than to each